This video is brought to you by Binford Tools. No, I'm kidding. It's just this clown's garage. And in this video I will show you how to clean your injectors on the car. I'm going to use OTC tool 7448. And I would recommend cleaning the injectors every 25 to 30,000 miles. This injector is from a third-gen Firebird, 80s, 90s Firebird. And cleaning these things will give you better fuel economy, it'll help you pass emissions, and restore poor performance. If these things are clogged, you will have you could have a lean misfire, rough idle, hesitation, stumbling on light acceleration, and like I said, your emissions could suffer. You could have high hydrocarbons and carbon monoxide. And like I said, also lean misfire. You have misfire codes. Also, check out my video on how to test injectors. If you have a turbo motor, for example, that's also very important to have good injectors because you don't want to run a turbo lean because that could cause detonation and stuff like that and ruin your motor. So that's something you do not want. Now what happens is gas has oil fins in them, which is a waxy residue. And it builds up over time in the orifice over here at the tip of the injector. And you can also have carbon buildup that builds up at the end over here. Especially if you have, say, a car that you use just to go to the grocery store, short trips, or a high performance motor which you give it a lot of, you rev it up high and stuff like that, and you don't really drive around too much with it. If you have a car like that, those waxy residues tend to build up because they're not, heated away from the heat and stuff like that. Melted away, I mean. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, another thing to keep in mind is you may have dislodged debris when you do clean your injectors and they actually clog up the tip over here. So you might have to do it again. Of course, the best way to clean these things would be to actually take them out and use a regular cleaner on them individually. But that's very expensive to do that. This cleaner here, the actual cleaner itself costs $130. I bought it for online, and the cleaner, it can cost about $10 or so. But like the best way to clean these are off the car, and you can actually put them on a flow bench and see the spray pattern. You can get them between 2 to 5% of spray flow between one another. Also, the older Pinta style type injectors are more prone to clogging, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Now let's get to this tool. Like I said, this is OTC 7448 tool. It comes with a gauge, nice big gauge in the bottom. And on top here is where you put the cleaning solution in. One thing to note up here is when you take this off, there's an O-ring on here. Put some oil. I put some little, motor oil on it to keep it from tearing from repeated use. Also, another thing I like to do is you get your air hose and you connect the air gun on it and blow into this orifice here and in here to actually dislodge, or not dislodge, but to free the passageways of any debris. Because, like I said, this actually gets connected to your fuel rails, so it's going to actually clog your injectors if there's any debris in here because it's not going to go through a gas filter. Also, another thing here, this tool does not come with this male fitting for the air hose. So when you get the fitting here, I would recommend getting the ones that don't have the actual thread sealant on them. Get the bare ones and just put Teflon on it because you don't want, also you don't want anything to dislodge and go in here. So there's a couple things to keep in mind when you're doing this. Also, this comes with a little chain here you can hook up to your hood, which I'm going to show you. Another thing I want to talk about is this over here. It comes with this hose, and what I did was I took this black hose off my fuel pressure tester, and over here it comes a little coupler, and I took that off. The actual tool comes with this. I threaded that out and got a union here, a coupler, 1/8 inch female on both sides, and mated the two, 8th NPT. And that's what the end where it goes in the shorter valve looks like. Now what you want to do is, one more thing also, let me backtrack a little bit. When you take this off, it might be, when they ship it, it's a little hard to take off, so you might want to use like a cloth and big channel locks to undo this. Right, now this is your cleaner, like I said, this is OTC's clean injector formula, and you just undo this. And simply just pour it in here. And make sure there's no debris in here also. Now, if you have a fuel pressure regulator, I don't on my car, which I'm gonna do this on. So if you don't have a fuel pressure regulator on your car, simply hook this up and set it to the PSI of your fuel pump, which mine is around 60, 59, 60. If you do have a fuel pressure regulator, you could do one of two things. And tighten this kind of tight. Also, when you put this in the car, make sure there's no leaks. If you do have a fuel pressure regulator, you could do one of two things. You could set the fuel, you could set the pressure on here 5 psi lower than what it should be, so it won't go through the regulator bypass into your fuel tank. Or you can just take your fuel pressure regulator and unplug it and plug it up. Plug it with you know, some sort of plug fitting to put on there. If you get one from Home Depot, if you don't know what to get. I think that's all I have to say here. And let me go show you in the car what this looks like. Also, one more thing. You have to take your fuel pump relay out because you don't want the fuel pump working when this is happening. And this injector cleaner should not go back into the gas tank because you have an anti-drain back valve on your fuel pump. It's another thing to keep note. I think that's all I have to say now, and I'm going to show you on the car what this looks like. Also, one more thing also. I set the air compressor over here to 80 psi and the regulator on the compressor because, like I said, I want to run this at 60, so that's like a fail-safe, so I don't put too much pressure in the fuel rail when I'm doing this. And this here, there's a petcock back here, which is fully closed now. Get your minds out of the gutter. And now that it's closed, when I go on the actual car and I hook the air to this over here, I'm gonna open up the petcock and I'm gonna see what the gauge reads. And I'm gonna regulate it from here. Clockwise, this regulator here, clockwise is higher pressure and counterclockwise is lower pressure. And there's a locking tab back here that you could turn to lock the regulator knob in place. So let me hook up my air to this. That's this right here. All right, now like I said, when I regulate this, I'm gonna wanna go on the pressure gauge, it'll be at 60. So which is right on top on 12 o'clock. So let me bring you guys over there to the car. Let me hang this up. Bear with me a second here while I hang this up. And that's what that looks like. Now be careful here, make sure you have rags, just in case you spill any gas where the fuel rail is. Also, this is where I took my fuel pump relay off. That's the fuel pump relay. When you take your cap off your fuse box, it says here fuel pump. And that's right here, it was right there. In case you're wondering, this is 2007 Impala, Chevy Impala. And this is my fuel cap for the Schrader valve, and the Schrader valve is over here. Look on your fuel rail for the Schrader valve, and all I have to do now is connect this and put the rags next to it because you're going to have fuel spilling. And just tighten that down. And make sure, like I said, to catch any fuel that comes out. And also, when you start the car and everything's running, inspect the whole tool top to bottom. Make sure there's no leaks in any fittings, and inspect also the fuel rail here where the Schrader valve is. And that is good. Now I'm going to open up the petcock in the back and observe the fuel pressure. And it should be at 60 psi. Let me do that. And it's at 50. Now I'm going to open the petcock all the way, and I'm going to adjust this to 60 using this. And higher is clockwise. So right there. Right there, I'm good. Now I'm going to start the car, and I'm going to let it run until it stalls. Let me do that. And now it's running off the actual tool. Check for leaks. There's no leaks. Check the whole hose, the adapter, everything. You got 60 psi. There's no leaks here. And we're good. I'm going to run this until it stalls. Then take the actual hose off, and I'm done. Put the fuel pump relay back on, and the injectors are clean. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Check the box underneath to subscribe. And also like me on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching, and ta-ta.